Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's gonna be a fun one. We're doing a assembly of a Almost Heaven Sauna. It's a 2-person barrel sauna I found on Costco.com. It just got delivered. There it is in the car-sized crate. It weighs 800 pounds. And I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this bad boy and show you what I've done to get the deck ready. And then we're gonna go ahead and get to installing so you can see just what it takes to put one of these together and make your just choice on whether you think it's worth doing that or hiring a professional. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. I can't even believe Costco ships these for free. I mean, 3,600 bucks I think I paid for it. And if you buy these from the manufacturer, they're about almost double that, and I think you have to pay shipping. And it only took a week to get here. Wondering why it was so hard to pull these apart. There's one T25 screw, it looks like, on a lot of these. And hey, for those of you that want some free shiplap material, it comes with it. All right, let's see what's inside. All right, we got our coals, our stand. You can see the shape of the outside there, and this must be a slat. That's probably our heater in there. All right, here's the deck. That is the corner where we're gonna put that sauna next to our little patio chat set. That used to be actually over here, but I moved it. And just to get it prepped, got this all cleaned off and dried. I'm gonna put some Preservawood conditioner in there. It's a deck stain. And this is about as good as it gets at Home Depot, but TWP, I'm gonna have this whole deck restained. I just wanted to get the spot where the sauna's going so that if it doesn't have to be moved at all. We're gonna get the wiring through the attic, and we'll probably put a box on that corner out there and run the line down this post in a couple weeks. Now that's funny. There's the manual. It was in the middle of the box. So if you open this thing up, you do get a manual, and we're making piles based on categories so that, you know, it's easy to pull out what we need when we need it. Not all of these stave pieces are created equal. This one has a drain hole in it, and that's the first one to go in, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. Overall, this assembly looks simple. It's just a matter of making sure you don't miss minor details like that. First thing we're gonna do is get that drain piece in, and it's centered at 24 inches from the edge here to the outside edge there on each side, and 5-inch offset from the machine right there, or 5-inch offset from the base. Next thing I'm gonna do is making sure that the base is parallel and also perpendicular to that first stave. The instructions, it doesn't tell you to do this. It's just gonna make life easier later. So I paralleled this edge to the pickets there at the same distance, and then matched the distance of these two ends over there. So now we have a pretty square platform to start with. All right, so now we're just gonna lay these in, hand lay it, right? The instructions tell you to mack it with a mallet on the end, but you really don't need to, because these are not really super duper snug. You can feel it, just feel it with your fingers, and then you're not messing with the orientation of everything. And these are all just gonna get hand laid in. One small detail to notice is there are some splinters on the ends, and just pull those out. They can get in the way of it flushing up. We're gonna check to see if that's still square. That's 5 3/8 distance there, and 5 1/8 there. So I'm gonna give this a little tap inward about 1/8 of an inch, and that should square it up. Okay, 5 1/4, and 5 1/4. Perfect, Cam. Do the same on the other side. All right, so they mark the orientation only on one side. C goes with C. The other side he has is D with D. Well, if you're like him, he lined it up first try. I'm gonna have to tap mine a little bit. Line up one corner and then flush it in. You might think this is overkill. You don't need to do this. This is just a pipe clamp I have. I'm just gonna pull it in so there's no extra play in there, just so it's snug. And then we're gonna screw in these right here on both sides. This isn't necessary, just overkill if you're like me. Screw in these corners. Well, they tell you to carry this, but I'm too old for that, so we're gonna roll it like a wheel. We got a ways to go. All right, as unsettling as that looks, it's secure enough, as long as we don't get a big wind gust. And we're gonna have to level that as well, but for now that's good. All right, so we got smart this time and just carried the pieces up the stairs. It was a lot easier than rolling a giant wheel up. And I'm just gonna go ahead and assemble that right there. Isn't that cool, the reflection of old Johnson there? I think we've got the right solution there. It sort of blocks that corner and sort of makes the flow of the energy go right into that chat set. It looks more inviting. Doesn't look like just like the back wall of something. I like it. All right, one thing I didn't do that I probably should have is fasten the staves as I went so I could tap them in tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this apart. I won't bore you to death, and then I'll put it back together with those fasteners. The next step is to get your ends level just by lifting on either side until it's bubble centered on both of these. Okay, next step is to get these in place, and one by one you're just gonna tap them in. And if you have a nail gun, this will save you a ton of time. Otherwise, you got to use the nails and a hammer that they gave you. Okay, so for these top ones, since gravity's holding them in place, we're just tapping them in because the last piece we have to push in like this way, and that'll give us a little more wiggle room in the gap without the nail firmly holding everyone in. And then once we get that one in, we'll secure. Okay, this last section is a shim section. We tried putting in these two pieces and all these, and there was still some space. So what that tells me is I need another entire full one, and then I'm probably gonna work with these and some of these. Okay, this is where it could get a little technical and the instructions don't do much help. I had to push this open enough to get this piece in because the smaller shims just wouldn't go. And he's holding it open over there for me. I'm gonna just get this end in over here and then go ahead and pull it out over there on that end. Yep. And now I'm gonna tap it in and it should get in all the way over there. There we go. Okay, and so we have a little buckling, but what we're gonna do is get a nice heavy duty ratchet strap on there and tighten all this stuff down. It'll actually make everything fit nice and good. Then we're gonna band it with the metal straps. Final alignment. Okay. All right, so what I have here is a heavy duty ratchet strap. You see how wide that is? And this long arm. This is gonna give you so much more power to suck in these boards than a dinky one like the one they have in the instructions. Probably 40, 50 bucks at Harbor Freight, maybe a little more at Home Depot. Worth every penny. You spent like 4,000 on this probably, maybe 7 if you bought it from the manufacturer. It'll prevent damaging the wood and you'll get a much tighter seal. I have this just positioned on the inside of the foot, and that gives us plenty of room to nail our brads in, and then when we band it with the steel bands that it comes with, it's going to go right over those brad holes. You won't even see those. But the instructions also tell you to put it in the middle, which is crazy because then you're just pulling in. You're going to bow all these boards. You really want to be right next to this frame for the same reason they have you put the bands right over the frame. I'm going to give it a lot. The more the better, right? There we go. I think that's good. Yeah. No, it needs a little more. You don't need to record. You're going to want to also make sure you put a 2x4 in here, and that's just going to protect you from getting any damage in the wood. Again, cedar is pretty soft wood, and this ratchet strap would definitely leave a mark if you didn't do that. All right, I got the band just loosely placed. If you move it out of the way, you can see there's the brad holes under there. And it's nice that it's going to cover that, but also those brad holes serve the purpose of telling you where this center frame is, and that way when you put the tension on there, you're pulling right into where it needs to go. I also made sure to put the hardware on the side that I'm not going to see from most positions when looking at this thing. So yeah, keep that in mind when you tighten down. You still want to brad the top. That's going to be your dotted line of where to put this thing. Otherwise, you could just measure with a tape measure just to make sure that you're the same all the way around. So these are 3/4 inch ratchet box end wrenches. That'll speed the process up quite a bit if you have just open-ended. It's worth buying these too, unless you like turning forever. There's not much space in there though, so at some point I'm going to have to use the open end. Okay, so these are the benches. You got to orient these so that this cutout is where the door would otherwise swing. You can see I got that one in there, and it's notched to get into that allow the door frame in. Those just rest in place and then screw them in the pre-drilled holes. Installing the light transformer here, right through a hole that's already pre-drilled by the bench. And I think they tell you to use the 2-inch screws, but I'm just using some 5/8 inch wood screws. 2 inches is gonna go straight through that bottom plank if you use those. This is all you need. All right, so that level is 22.5 inches off the center of the floor with the low spot. And we're supposed to have these holes 15 and, what does this say, 15.25 inches apart? Yeah, so get that level there, make sure you're level, put it on the 0, and then you go over 7 5/8 on each side. That's where those screws are gonna go that hold the heater in place. Okay, got the lags installed. These are the 1.5 inch, and the 1/4 inch space should allow it to slip right on there. Okay, that's installed. Piece of cake, it just hangs on those screws I put in. We're gonna take it apart. There's some things I have to pull out of the heating element, including the temperature sensor, get that mounted. And we gotta wait for the electrician to show up in a couple weeks to get this hooked up and test it out. All right, now this is where the instructions get really vague. It's clear up until when you pull this panel off and take the sensor out. It just says, put the sensor away for later use. And I'm like, come on. No instructions where to route it. But you can see inside there, I don't know if you can see that way inside there, I'm trying to focus. There's another sensor coming off of this lead here. So that leads me to believe that it's safe to route between these 2 layers of heat shielding. So I'm gonna take this and feed it through there. And we're gonna remount the heater and hang it. And then I'm gonna run that piece, that sensor up to the top here. I think it says 14 inches from the top, but 14 inches offset from the side to get the right temperature sensing. And then there's a trim kit to trim it out, which we're not even gonna trim it. We're just gonna kind of get things ready so that after the electrician comes, we can install it really. All right, so I got this wired. It doesn't really give you, specific instructions. It's just 14 inches from top to side, but like what part of the sensor. So that's 14 inches. I did that there because I didn't want it shutting off prematurely. And you have to bend these tabs to get the sensor in, and then you can squeeze them together, but I'm gonna keep them loose until we get this installed. And then I intentionally put this right next to one of these locations by the trim, or not the trim, the seam. And I'm thinking I'm just gonna push that in with a screwdriver instead of installing the trim kit that they gave me, because sometimes with aesthetics, less is more. And I'll just let that sit there till the electrician. No instructions on the door handle assembly, but it's pretty easy to figure out. The most important thing is that these plastic pieces are up against the glass, so you don't crack the glass when you tighten it. Followed by metal, the post, the screw, and that threads into this piece right here. Pre-assembling the heater guard, very simple. Just make sure these line up like a jigsaw puzzle, 1 screw on each. All right, we had electricians out here yesterday. I'm not gonna mess around with 220 stuff. I had them route through the attic, through conduit, into a sub panel, which splits it for the 110, and the 220 goes into the back. So we're all hooked up on there now. I'm just gonna go ahead and get the heat guard on, the thermostat guard, and I'll tuck that wire in. I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. All right, the manual doesn't tell you where to install this, but it looks like right about there. I recommend just getting one of the screws in, like the top corner, and that's gonna be loose. It's just kind of hold one side for you and then level it, and then get your other side in like that. And you're gonna have to countersink these screws a little deep, just because it's going through 1x material. These are only 2-inch screws. So this came with wood trim I could install, but what I'm doing is I'm actually just using my painter's tool and digging a bit of a trench with pressure in there, and I'm gonna get it wide enough to just push that in, and I think it'll be less visible that way. Probably easier too. Okay, there we go. You can see, or not see, you can see it's nice and embedded in there. Much cleaner than the trim kit. Pretty easy too. All right, I think we're ready to put the rocks in. About halfway done stacking these in here, and yeah, start with the small ones. It's a little harder to get them in. Move up to the big ones. All right, we're all set. Just gonna go ahead and get that turned on for 5 minutes, burn off any gunk. One last thing I did that's not in the instructions is I put some of these stainless screws up here to hang our robes on. And no, we're not gonna have 4 people in this little thing, but I wanted to get a spread across because then we don't have to wear anything underneath. Instructions say to let that burn 5 minutes to get the smell off. I just did a full 1 hour cycle and then periodically kind of transferring the air. It does get pretty stinky in there and I don't want to be breathing that stuff. So we'll just do that and I'll do that till it smells okay. All right, there it is, guys. I got everything positioned. I've always wanted it. It only took me 10 years to make this patio do everything I want it to. As if you couldn't tell, these chairs are worn. Nothing's perfect, but it's worth the wait. I used the extra stones to get a little more heat out of our fire table. And oh, it smells so good. Cedar, awesome. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you guys at least got a better idea of what these saunas come with and what they're like. It's premium quality. Honestly, you may be wondering, if I'm a carpenter, why didn't I build it myself? And the answer is materials alone would have probably been half the price of what I paid, and it saved me a lot of time. And you know, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes things are just better done out of a kit, and this is one of them. So yeah, if you like that, there's a lot of other DIY stuff on my channel. Check it out. I've got a lot of things that I do around here, and I just keep posting what I do. So please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.